faith, feeling grit. Having the darkness around, the white lights just illuminating the circuit perfectly. You get tunnel vision. If you like Verstappen biding his time, as others out there begin their outlets. Joe has been a very, very strong contender so far this weekend, leading the big game. The two Ferraris ahead of him. Now, into the fast lane go the McLarens. The way is clear. And this is, you feel, one of those pivotal Grand Prix weekends. The destiny of the Drivers' Championship. We have 3 drivers within 17 points, the 25. One Verstappen, 69 points back. Championship leaders Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris in second, 25 points back. And we will see the McLarens move into their preparation lap. They each state score by an hour ahead of them. Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, in your picture, top to FP2. And improved with a late effort on the soft tyres earlier on to move up very, very close. The Max Verstappen had found himself crunching the gap, but unable to leap past him. He was only 17,000 to second. The first thing they've got to do is win the fence on a use of a soft tyre. They're out of the way of a load of cars and are starting flying laps already. They nearly 3 minutes of the session. Gasly, I think, still as far out. Colapinto and then Gasly. Actually already on behind Hamilton. This is one of those ones that's a test also for the engineers in the pit wall, because if you're a championship contender, you ace to be at the sharp end of the field. You think it's going to be close. Possibly Ferrari, probably Mercedes with the pace they've shown. You need to be that. You don't want to be getting in the way of a Aston Martin or something else at this stage. And we've seen that being so costly for some of these drivers in the past. Yeah, there's not maybe as many pinch points over this track as you see Hamilton go a little bit wide on hits and one. But to me, it is if he just went over the rear axle and he's backed out of it. But if there are more obvious glitches to let cars pass, but it does involve, as you know, going on the dusty part of the racetrack, which you just don't want to get out of your tyres. Yeah, it's better since they opened up the circuit a couple of years ago. They gave them a look at Lewis getting wide open about first corner, but just not slowed the car down for it, running wide. And drifting onto the dusty part, as you say, DC, you can see it pretty clearly there when Joe's getting up line, and you don't look at that, but you know, don't you compromise your confidence, doesn't it? But there he's attitude gets to that confidence over the course of the year. I think he has shown some, of course, and we the driver player in the last couple of Grand Prix, but just never agreed for it to go wrong at the very first corner. There's opportunities 13-4 down, going compared to his teammate in the head-to-head battle that we like to tell you about between teammates. Here's a man who's 9-8 back and coming off the back of a superb podium. Also brought that home to Singapore. The other flag is out there at the moment as power signs. It's the front of the field. If it's spectacles, the other flag, now look, the first corner is cleared already. So someone maybe just skipping through the runoff. Sainz went 7 tenths quicker than that this morning. So these first laps are going to be the worst of the track down for the next hour. And I was when GP Singapore, I don't know why, man. The gap between that P3 qualifying, each coming back steps back so much. And then the evolution through to P1 is just ginormous. I think it's the biggest Q1 track evolution of the year. Every Bortoletto has been the lead Sauber on the grid for the last 7 Grand Prix in a row. And he goes to the 4th position. AZERBAIKAN, surely Red Bull senior team bound goes fast as anyone so far. They ahead of Charles Leclerc's first effort in the Ferrari. Spectacular stuff. But Lando Norris lifting it out of turn 14. Yeah, that would have cost them just a little bit of time, a little bit of confidence still early in the session. But if anyone was watching his sublime qualifying lap of last year, it was absolutely perfect. So he'll be hoping to build up through these as part of the session as unsurprisingly tops the bangs. But we'll be definitely saying the team okay. I'm not quite getting the real stability I would like. That doubles but here as well now. Norris getting towards the benchmark start set earlier on. That's it, back to the 30.1. And so far, set a couple of hours ago in the daylight of practice. It dropped a little Olsen, first flying now, already ahead of Albonsio and Oldenburg. As Verstappen does get closer, but still not quite admitting his run this time. Possibly went so far in the second and third sectors. Lewis Hamilton's first effort ended at Turn 1 when he went wide, making adjustments on the steering wheel as he plunged downhill. To turn 14 where we saw Norris sliding a few moments ago. It multiplied through there for 7-time world champion. The former winner around these streets and had an epic pole position here back in 2018. Oh, detail, we can see it well under the lights. But a small bump on there, and he's better than much information to absorb if he can. He won't be looking at that much of it if he's going around getting towards the sharp end of the tires. Now he'll look more at the information as it slows down, but it's about changing your settings as well on your way round. 19 corners of a few cockpit adjustments you can make to fine-tune the balance between taking some of the bigger stops, the brake zones. To give an answer of what happened to Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris at that time, but the championship leader did ignore. Turn 1. Yellow flags. Bad up, that give a yellow flag was the bump the other guy out of the way. Well, I understand his point. But was that car getting out of the way? Or that actually see what the car was in front of them? But if he had a lock-up, then they probably thought that was an incident. But it would be unusual to drive that wide to let someone out of the way. It was a helper, and he was getting out of the way. It's true, because he just completed a lap, so Oscar knew that he got out of the way for Alex Albon. The safest thing to do is to just jump off the circuit and allow your rival through. You know you're not getting in the way. Albon doesn't want to cause an upset for the McLarens either at this stage. It's a bit right there, Oscar. You don't need a yellow flag for a car. Just not much to go in. Probably another one that 3 is for the drivers of the race director next day in the all meet. The Marquez, the race director, after doing things by the book. Smelter was investigation whether he'd going to put on the red flags before the session started, and no drama there at all. He was cleared of that at 9 up where he incorporated the plan in the remaining session. Now George Russell's had an eventful weekend in beating the barriers. Now he's up to 3rd place. He was very quick earlier on within a 10 for the fastest time. Oliver Behrman has found a time dipping up for 2nd position as the track continues to ramp up all the while. And now we check in with Franco Colapinto. He's trying to rotate that car around turn 13 and struggling to do so. Yeah, looking a bit wild as he came over that bridge, and then Brad will be flying through their team there as he tried to get a good climb along the back straight. So not looking as comfortable as I think his engineer would like to see if indeed the Ricochet curves crashing last. Oh no. That's only Behrman back for notch. Hold on, he's put in first time and he's gone ahead of Russell. Why am I? Same time on the track, soft tyres, third up into the top 2. Excellent lap for Behrman, who has scored points in the Belgian Sprint and the Grand Prix in Zandvoort, but it's not been an easiest time. That's the 9th fastest team. You look at the Constructors' Championship table. To go back on board, Bruno Hamilton has a powerful best in Sector 1. Both fastest right and right. That was so good with a second in the middle part of the lap. That team, our Marina corner back bad there, but now opening up, so he did it up front. Difficult to get traction on the F there. That Hamilton is on a better lap there. Dropped a little bit relative to his best from the middle sector. Looking like grabbing to hit the car with it. They just worked it here in the light for 13, and I made it was working the wheel on excellent. We'll see if he gets at Heidi for Halo Center. That batting pace as well, so like Ferrari staying out on a set of that soft tyre. Hamilton gets ahead of Bernard. So Esteban often I suspect is spinning the pinch. It's belts. Imagine what you ride on board with Hamilton what that feels like. But you're just not really comfortable with them. Your belt's just pinching you somewhere. And it's bumpy. It's a calibrated circuit. He's gone straight back in and out there. Quick change perhaps to could be out and could be back in again. Charlotte goes into 3rd position. As we go on board with Oscar Piastri, it will just be hoping upon hope that at this stage there is no yellow flag with no interruption. Ajay gets the top of the times, which is a real story of how well his weekend is going, even though Verstappen in the pits, Russell in the pits as well. And if we get a clean lap in, you're looking for a top 15 of your place in future. So you're up to get a flag, or a red flag right there, but it's a bit of struggle at this stage because he had to back out of that first lap. So 6.5 minutes left of the game, so good 40. Basically got the vehicles with Baron and Barrel thereabouts. Really, the best not doing so far. He's more on the going out of turn, nothing really leaning on that rear tyre, which is ripping up nicely now. Track is nearly bored all the time. There is Max Verstappen chilling in the pit lane, watching with the rest of us at the moment, having done a heavy lifting earlier in this session. There are 6 minutes to go, and it will be a clean lap for Oscar Piastri. And he goes over the line into 6th position. He's 2/10 of a second away from the benchmark pace set by Isaac Fadjar, who's having an exemplary rookie season. That's one McLaren laying a time on the board. The next one is going to be Lando Norris. He's on the fastest first sector of anyone so far. We'll keep you updated with the top and the bottom. If it would be on Ocon, Gasly, and also the Sonoda, and Antonelli without a time on the board so far. Who is a driver who's not quite the game to qualify George Russell for only the second time the last Grand Prix. In fact, I could imagine that's been an issue rather than a strategy because of the reasons you just mentioned, Julian, that the yellow or red, that it can very much happen on a racetrack like this, and you're just not giving yourself any wiggle room. You know, it should be a systematic for the proceed. something remarkable happening with the safety car. But this is second fall. The chance the safety car is not negligible around these tight streets. And going long, they open up their window. Any safety car after the leaders have already pitted will bring the Red Bulls into play that set of tyres for an attack they've on. He'll need to overtake to win, definitely. But it's a long shot, let's be honest, but it can never rule it out here. There is the world champion of X, the blue gun tonight. The vision was the movement about a race rank to send one when things happening. But the inside, that is all about random ways. There is, and that's the ninth place in the club where he put a hay start and get 11. Changing position out there on the circuit then. Lando Norris down in fourth place, and Hamilton back to where he started the race in P-Park. The player on those softer tyres definitely people saying this. Bonus to the Caesar when the imagine Sainz is just driving within himself. Drive the path under PDFs. Don't take any temperatures or some thought into. That's a
in the point to be second. That's qualifying result of DM and yesterday in sixth place. He's only being further ahead home once so far this season, and he's placing the car nicely. Just when forced by this time, you need 28.5 seconds on average to make a stop around Marina Bay, and that's just happened at the moment. It's 9.5 seconds of the lead of the race. Now, they're wanting to take his bigger risk, trying to overtake Angson as he did the multi-bird, setting himself up a wider line to take him able to a better drive into the substream. But Magnussen driving defensively one. Maybe errors all over the top. Yeah, in that situation there, he's realized it's costing him time out to the front. And then better to just let that faster car go. Then try and see if he can get pulled along onto the back of the brute. Next up, Ocon. So Max Verstappen up to 8th position. That is, has he made his way past. And Oscar Piastri appears to be mounting the Red Bull, or Sergio Perez. Piastri appears to have gained another points. There is 5 to 20 back, it's close to 3 32. So the back of the back, just like to check in with that battle. No, we've got the tyre McLaren all under the back with DRS putting the pressure on Sergio Perez, who's a hard tyre, and these two would be battling in class on the corner. Perez struggling to slow it down, but he's ahead at the moment. Perez is damaged as well after that contact with Tsunoda, then some ruled boot the out. But that's that. Is Perez not making any progress? Like Noble said it, Australian Canada quicker at the moment. Verstappen ends is well and truly at this point. And everyone else bids is going to be on that new episode. You'll see it. The race pace is good. We'll back into to the fray later on. And looking, drivers who have taken the option of dabbling on a safety car, Joe Guan Yu in the Alfa Romeo came in really, really early on and put on the hard tyre, so they're gambling with a winning track position if there is the intervention or place safety car out there. And having switched the new bump out of turn, Joe Guan Yu must last the race. What's doing it for Joe? And he's doing it for Verstappen is the management of the tyres going on. Signs you need less. And right about that's the descent. And that won't worry the race leader. He's doing okay. He's got his teammate behind. He's trying to head this stick. He doesn't want to run out of tyres too early. That'll leave Ferrari's vulnerable. So the likes of perhaps Norris and Hamilton just behind at a race pace is one thing to not only use it around this fight with the Serbian and so Ferrari had to bring the pace, and it means no one is able to build up a big gap over Verstappen is still within 10 seconds of the race lead. And it's this the field spread is going to bring this that bit into play later on, I think. Yeah, then what it takes right now is going to come out right by Bottas. These second laps on the road right now. So, yeah, interesting strategy new from Ferrari. just trying to make their tires more distance. You can see that in terms of putting that softer tire, it helped the player get to least Russell. I think it's a good strategy for them at the moment. They just got to keep those tires aligned, and that's why everyone's just tempering the pace, because the gain of the salt off the line, they've done that. And that's second credit. The way it limits it, split it too early. In fact, you really want to have to get stuck in traffic. It's one absolutely dumping needs to lift that on the more fragile sub. It's about Alcott chasing a third quad score in the last 6 races with the Fags IQ with the having ducks a wheel to wheel with his old teammate way to your tags last year, and I'm also at the end of it pretty sick of it. Off the driving tactics from that of the Professor Central Rich moved out. Start off with 110 Grand Prix winner, Delivery race in 2021. Won the Hungarian Grand Prix, and he is within TRS, as is Jala Cloud, chasing down his teammate for the lead as everyone just tries to extend this stint as far as possible. If you're on the medium tire, the window, the one stop, is really that 20 or 30. You're on the soft tire, with that 50, that anyone's point from. Some for reference shown by this bench now is that I think the same height as the Ferraris out front. You don't have hard time. You don't want to find 50 artists. Scalding rash. Always go up. If they want to ching left, same height of the rate lead. Not much different. No. If the opposite does, think a lot, so it's doing the same. Just punching off one of them and stuff put there into each other. And have those a small race. You don't want to be avoiding out of cars. 2.5 seconds back to Hamilton and head. And just sit there, save his tires, and be a little bit quicker around the stop window. Yeah, you have to watch the safety car. Get no course, they punch their own heads. It will get very busy. Pretendly, teams choose to then double stack the cars. Not as Tate here and Zambor were really a big issue to be able to do that. But you know, the previous experience could get a little bit pacey and especially to women's safe releases. Or with this the first injury, we don't see a safety come. The interesting stat is we've had a lot of safety car interventions, 22 safety car interventions, 13 Grand Prix held there. But a quarter of those are at corners where we're not on the racing. Here's the near layout this year, which has made it just shy of a 5 kilometer lap. 3 mile circuit you're looking at. Amazing shots there. All the helicopter, it is about most from 6 miles long. About the better half of Ferrari, who are looking, try and falling back onto the top step. The last time they put 2 cars on the podium, this race last year. Something that just suits makeup. Just fresh and petroleum, actually, as you put more mission experience. The fact that Charles Leclerc is staying within that 1 second DRS winning. I'll go back to you. I'll get absolute sign. We need 3 seconds. At the moment, it's 1.0. Well, just to finish on that question, the fact that you're able to go DRS is on that soft content. Open up the rear wing, it takes the load off the rear axle, pushes it onto the front axle. That will not actually take away some of the heat buildup that you get when you're running there in those semis, because locally there's a lot of heat on mid-side shoulder. So, point being, is he actually saving a little bit of his tires, staying within that distance? The theory is true. You have the DRS to blow load on the front. But the reality is, you actually end up spending more time sliding around in third gear, and if you do more damage by doing that, you save by opening the DRS. And that is why he's just been told to back away from his teammate, get to about 3 seconds back, fall off the fight, and save the tires that way, because sitting in with DRS is not the way. You tend to marginal gain and shit you mean, and downforce the broad straight. I'm surprised it was actually nice enough, just putting a bit of pressure on Sainz. The 2 Ferraris up their pace by a second suddenly, and that's why Carlos took part his match suddenly to find a second. They decided to press on, and now it drifted away and up into a bit more tire savings. Difference more than else, and so 1 lap and finding a bit of pace until just without it. We're in the early chat phase of the title fight here. It's going to be very, very interesting to see who eventually starts throwing punches out there when we get some real lap times. Because at the moment, the degradation is a little bit lower. The teams reported that it is a little bit lower than expected. That's good news for Ferrari. Pulled through their tires this year. A bit off on a bit of this stroke. about his Palisades reporting that, he might want to go a little bit faster, but he's very happy with tire management on that medium tire at the pace that has been prescribed to him from the team. It's tricky to know what to do now. And they're trying to just put it. It's not. It's a really measurable pace, and that's why I think he did one like a little bit quicker than when he did two. And they just said, so then no one's going to pass him in the environment, and he lets you lose your tires completely. What was going to happen? The above you read the rest of it's quite twisty, and it's time to pass. So what do you do? Is Russell? It looks like the sacrifice of the curve. So that is building the gap. They've heard the radio message that you heard at home about building that 3-second gap. And George Russell was confident about the tire management, the turn at dig being less. And just want to thank you where we expect Max Verstappen in. It's between 30 and 38 on that median tire, making it a little bit late with that. It's SD commitment. Also, at the moment, you've been thinking while the undercut's in play, we'll all just